Hello, everybody. Welcome to Elite Weather Forecasting. My name is Mr. G, your meteorologist. Feeling a little bit under the weather tonight as we're going to your Thursday evening. So I'm gonna try not to cough all through the video, and if I do, I apologize and please forgive me. That's just not professional. But it's been a couple of days since I've blessed you all with the weather forecast. Here is our city of the day. It's going to be Baltimore, Maryland. We are looking at the Inner Harbor this evening in Baltimore. Shout out to everybody who remembers The Wire. God, I love that show. I still watch the reruns of The Wire and The Sopranos. So there we are with a beautiful night tonight out there in Baltimore. There are some scattered showers in the area right along the eastern seaboard this evening, but nothing too bad. A few light showers, a couple rumbles and thunders also possible further down to the south. But other than that, a nice mild evening for you guys out there in Baltimore. So let's move on with the rest of this somewhat wacky forecast where we're going to be talking about a tropical storm that is going to affect an area that don't typically see tropical systems. So let's move on with the rest of the forecast. Okay, here we go as we cover the rest of the weather forecast for you all tonight across America. We're going to be talking about a tropical storm. We're going to start off with the tropics this forecast because we have some unusual things taking place. We all know that we have a very strong El Nino underway right now, which is showing signs of further strengthening. So we're going to be dealing with a potentially historic El Nino, especially as we move into the winter months. But let's talk about Hurricane Hilary, which is a Category 3 hurricane right now. And we're seeing winds of about 120. There it is off the coast of southwestern Mexico. There it is. And it's going to be heading off to the northwest along the shoreline of Mexico there, about 200 miles off the coast. And it's going to be making its track to the north and northwest. Here is the water vapor. This is a very beautiful hurricane, nicely defined eye wall right there. Our very strong Category 3. Those super strong winds our maximum winds are fairly compact. This is a fairly tightly wound up storm, but we do see a lot of outflow with this storm. We see a lot of outflow to the south and west, and again to the north and east of our low. And that outflow is what's going to make tremendous impact in the weather in these areas. Check this out. Our hurricane, our Category 3 hurricane, which is a major hurricane at this time, moving up the up the coast towards Baja California, and is going to continue its way northward and move into Southern California, Los Angeles, and San Diego. Yes, an organized tropical system may affect the southwestern United States, making a direct impact on Los Angeles, Orange, and San Diego counties and the rest of the Southland. Now, I have to throw this out there. The previous model run had this as a tropical storm. It's downgraded it that by the time we get to Monday morning, or Monday evening, it's going to be a tropical depression, which would mean that the winds will be less than 35 miles per hour. So we're going to be seeing that potential. Now, it's a possibility that could be brought back up to tropical storm. So, but we do know at this time that we will be dealing with a formal tropical system, tropical storm right now, major hurricane Hilary. But by the time it makes it to Southern California, it could be a tropical storm or tropical depression. So we are looking at a historic. Now, this has happened before where the remnants of tropical systems have moved over Southern California, but by the time that happened, the system has lost all of its tropical characteristics it would be in what we call an extratropical area of low pressure. It is a weak area of low pressure that is in the mid levels of the atmosphere, and that can sometimes lead to scattered showers and some isolated thunderstorms across the southwest. It can enhance the monsoon moisture in the area as well. But this one is going to be a little bit more impactful, as we're going to be seeing unusual for Southern California and the Southwest is the potential for torrential rainfall, severe thunderstorms, tornadoes. Tornadoes will also be possible, especially along the coast. If you look at the contour of the coast of California, from Santa Barbara down to San Diego, the coast is kind of curved like this. And this is often the way that tornadoes spin. You see that curve, and we also have that area of low pressure as it comes from the south. It's also going to be spinning like this direction. So you got the spin in the atmosphere because of our storm. You also kind of have a spin of the coastline just because of the curvature of that coastline. So it can enhance the formation of tornadoes, meaning it could make it easier for the tornadoes to form because the coastline already curves in that direction. So we definitely going to be watching for interesting events to take place here this weekend and into Monday. And what would completely blow my mind would be to see in the weather forecast for Los Angeles and Southern California is a hurricane watch being posted or tropical storm watches or warnings. It's certainly possible, even though it's likely that we're not going to see a hurricane affect Los Angeles. I don't want to be one of those YouTube forecasters who say stupid stuff just to get ratings. I hate that. This is why I don't follow Ryan Hall. Or whatever his name, Ryan Hall, is that his name? He's somehow he's like this huge YouTuber. I trip off of these YouTubers with no meteorology experience, but somehow they got 500,000 subscribers giving weather advice. I mean, seriously, come on now. And so I'm going to be one of those guys. We're going to keep it 100 right here on this channel. But it's just interesting to see that this possibility. Now, I would lean toward that it might even further weaken, and it is even possible yet still that it could be a lower grade tropical depression. But either way, it's going to be a bit more organized because of the warmer ocean waters, because of the El Nino effect and the warming of the waters off the coast. Now in Central California, we have another pool of warmer water along the coast of Central, but down off of Southern California coast, there is a current that goes all the way to Japan. The Japanese American current pumps really cold water across the Pacific. So the waters off of California is about 50 to 60 degrees, so it's very cold. So tropical systems don't like water temperatures like that, and they will rapidly weaken in temperatures that way. Tropical systems typically want water temperatures above 79 degrees, so it likes warmer waters, which it has down here in Mexico, but it's even warmer still because of El Nino. Now, most of the El Nino effect is right off the coast of Ecuador and Peru, Central America, but it is warmer still to the north a bit as well, as this is a very significant El Nino event that we're watching develop. So I'm definitely going to keep tracking this situation, and I would love to see the storm at least hold together to have that historic event take place. I hope we don't see any significant damage, but we will see some very heavy rainfall, and flash flooding will be possible and likely in this event. Flash flooding, mudslides. California is very prone to mudslides. We have very mountainous terrain, south-facing mountains that will receive lots of rainfall, copious amounts of rainfall, because it's enhanced because of the high in elevation. So we're going to be seeing those mudslides almost for sure from those storms, and showers, and thunderstorms. But it was just it would just blow my mind to see a weather forecast from the National Weather Service talking about tropical storm conditions in Southern California. I'm used to seeing them in Miami and New Orleans and stuff like that, but just the possibility in Southern California is pretty amazing to me. Now, here is the Atlantic Basin. Now, the Atlantic Basin has been very quiet this year, and part of that is because of a lot of dust coming off of the Sahara Desert, blowing across the central Atlantic, and it's been keeping the air temperatures a little bit cooler, and has been affecting some of that direct sunlight, because the sunlight gets absorbed or deflected by those dust particles in the atmosphere, in the middle to upper levels of the atmosphere. So not all of those sunlight particles can reach the surface. So the air temperature is actually a little bit, even if it's a degree or two, that is pretty significant in meteorological terms. So it's going to help to limit the tropical development in the Atlantic. Plus, El Nino tends to make a lot of wind shear, so we see a lot of shear along the intertropical convergence zone across the Atlantic. So that also makes tropical systems don't like wind shear like that, and it's kind of counterproductive to their development. So we're gonna see, but we are seeing an uptick here in the potential for development across the central and eastern Atlantic. If we go off the coast of Africa, we got one tropical wave right here that looks promising, and we're going to be watching this off of the Cape Verde Islands. Then we have another wave right about in here. You can see the spin, the circulation in these areas of surface rotation. And then there's another large tropical wave right about here that's making its way towards the Azores and into Colombia. So we've got at least 3 significant areas of tropical potential there that we are monitoring across the Atlantic. And the way these things have been behaving and these conditions, if you look here across the Caribbean and the Gulf, and we don't see a lot of wind shear here. Look, it's pretty clear over these regions, and that is a good sign for tropical development because we don't have a lot of wind shear. We got a lot of shear here as we have a frontal boundary. We do have a tropical wave here off the coast of Florida and South Carolina, so that's producing some shear, as that has a tropical and a bit of a mid-latitude fetch to it as well. So that is not a genuine tropical wave. It's kind of a hybrid, so we're not worried about too much development out of that. But that can affect development like of this system right here. I don't expect much to happen with that guy. But 1, 2, and 3, we're going to monitor for the possibility of tropical development. If anything comes of this, I believe that it will probably make a turn towards the north. That won't affect too much land. This guy here is probably our best opportunity, these 2 right here, for tropical systems that could affect any significant land masses like maybe the Virgin Islands or Jamaica or Cuba or anything like that, okay? So that's the tropical update for you guys today. But now let's talk about our forecast for the rest of the country. Now, this is our current radar right now. We are seeing some monsoon moisture down across the southwest here in Arizona and New Mexico. and through parts of Colorado as well. These are afternoon mountain and desert thunderstorms. We have some up in central and northern California and parts of northwestern Nevada as well. We are also seeing some of those afternoon thunderstorms. Now, we'll have to talk about this because this is actually being enhanced by an area of low pressure just off the coast of central and northern California. We have a rotation just off the coast, and that's enhancing some showers and thunderstorms over that way. And we will see our monsoon moisture increase as moisture from hurricane as the hurricane gets closer, we will see moisture increase. Now we have an area of low pressure over southern Canada, and we have a cold front here across the upper Midwest and the Great Lakes, and that's going to be dragging showers and thunderstorms right along with it across the Great Lakes over to Michigan. That's going to sweep through the northeast and eventually off the northeastern coast. We will bring some showers and storms into Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Jersey, Connecticut, and New York City and Long Island could see some showers and thunderstorms from that trailing cold front along with that area of low pressure headed up into northeastern Canada. And that's going to move across the New Brunswick and Nova Scotia. So we're going to be seeing showers and storms over that way. Now here's our current temperatures across the country this evening. And it's still hot down in Texas. Blazing saddles, guys. It's 100 plus degrees across much of the state of Texas and along the immediate Gulf Coast. We're seeing some of those temperatures in the upper 90s. We were 100 today in New Orleans, so we are seeing some heat, and we're seeing heat again, those upper 90s across the state of Florida. But it's beautiful across the upper Midwest. If you're in Minnesota, Wisconsin, we saw those temperatures in the 80s today. Very nice day. Much lower humidity as well, and we're going to see that lower humidity eventually spread. You can see this right here. This is where our storm front is across the north there, and you can see where it is by where that front is. That's when those temperatures are cooler because of rain. So rain, cooled air right here across the parts of Michigan, Indiana, and central Illinois. We'll be looking for those showers and thunderstorms across those regions this evening and through the day tomorrow. All right, so here is our dew points. We see right here the upper Midwest. I have to talk about this because it's usually pretty humid it's humid as heck in Minnesota. Even though we're so far away from the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic, but gosh dang it all to hell, it is humid. It can be hot. I mean, it's going to be stupid hot, at least as far as what we're used to. We're used to it in the 70s and maybe the 80s. But we don't like 90s up here, but we're going to see temperatures in the low to mid 90s pretty much all week next week. It's going to be stupid, and we're going to review that in just a minute. But look at the south here. This is those dew points. We're seeing those warmer dew points there across the south. These are, no, I'm sorry, this is not dew points. These are, these are, I can't see the screen up there. And these are our temperature anomalies. Okay, not our dew points. These are our temperature anomalies. And we're seeing how those temperatures are warm there, but we're seeing those temperatures being cooler across the north because of that front that is passing through Michigan right now and through the upper Midwest, the northern, the farmlands. Is moving through Indiana and Illinois, but this is that cooler, drier air behind it. So here is our temperature anomaly. These are our temperature anomalies that we're going to be seeing as we move into the weekend. So by Saturday, this is going to be much cooler air across the Northeast and the Great Lakes and in the Ohio Valley. But it's going to stay hot along the Gulf Coast, the Southeast. It's going to stay ridiculously hot across the state of Texas. But we're going to see that heat increase across the high plains. So eastern Colorado, eastern Wyoming, eastern New Mexico, eastern Montana, western North Dakota, western South Dakota, western Nebraska, western Kansas, western Oklahoma. So we're going to see those temperatures soar into the 100s, almost all the way to the Canadian border across the high plains. So we're going to be dealing with stupid heat across the central plains as we head into the weekend and into the week next week. Some of that heat will begin to spread toward the east as well, so enjoy that cool down while you can. Now, I have to say, that ridge is going to flatten out a bit, but it's not going to get quite that hot across the east. But across the northern plains, we certainly see that surge of heat and warmth, surging north toward the Canadian border with that building ridge of high pressure across the west. Now here is our rainfall forecast, and this is our forecast through Friday night, and this is where we're going to see the majority of the rainfall across the country, up here across the eastern Great Lakes and into parts of the Northeast and New England, where we can see as much as 2 inches of rainfall in a few isolated locations. And then we have our monsoon moisture down here across the Four Corners: Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, Utah, and into parts of Northern California, Nevada, Oregon, and through Idaho and parts of Wyoming. We're going to see more of those showers and thunderstorms. Primarily in the higher elevations up over the mountains, we're going to see those showers and storms. And we can see some isolated issues with flash flooding. Check this out. This is Hurricane Hilary down here off the coast of Mexico, and it's producing tremendous amounts of rainfall. Rainfall over 20 inches in some areas associated with Hurricane Hilary. So again, look how close that is to Southern California. Right there is where LA, there is where our hurricane is. Wow, getting pretty close there, aren't we? All right, so here's our severe weather forecast for your day tomorrow. No severe weather expected across the Four Corners in the desert Southwest. With that monsoon moisture, at least no organized severe weather, but an isolated severe thunderstorm is always possible. But here in the Great Lakes, with our slower moving frontal boundary, we will see some severe thunderstorms, a marginal chance for severe thunderstorms, and our primary threat is going to be excessive rainfall and some damaging winds. Small hail is also possible. The tornado threat is going to be minimum both here and in this region as well. Heavy rain, some small hail, and those damaging winds are going to be the primary concerns for your day tomorrow. And then on Saturday, we see that severe weather threat move into New England. So if you're in Vermont, New Hampshire, maybe southern Maine, and Massachusetts and Connecticut, Rhode Island, you have that possibility because it is a marginal risk, so a pretty small risk for some severe thunderstorms. And we're going to be looking for some very heavy rainfall, damaging winds, and some small hail. But I'm not worried about tornadoes at this time. With this event, it's not going to be that significant of a severe weather event, but I will be looking for some heavy amounts of rainfall where we can pick up as much as 2 to 3 inches of rain. And here we are as we take a look at your Sunday. No severe weather expected at this time. We may see an isolated severe thunderstorm across parts of the Four Corners and the Intermountain West at any time. There's no organized severe activity expected, but an isolated storm on the weaker side of the severe scale is always possible in an afternoon thunderstorm. So the thing you have to be careful in this region is flash flooding, especially if you're near the mountains and you may be in an area that may not even see or receive any rainfall. Rainfall over the mountains will run down the side of the mountain. If you see pretty waterfalls like in Zion National Park or Bryce Canyon, be watchful because that's a potential flash flood for your behind coming for you. So don't be oohing and ahhing if you see pretty waterfalls, because that means there was a thunderstorm recently and that water is rushing down the side of the mountain. Okay? I've seen a lot of people get wiped out by those flash floods They were standing there a minute ago, ooh and oh, and how pretty it was, and the next thing you know, they were caught in the flash flood. I've seen very graphic video of that happening. So here's your weather forecast for tomorrow across America. Now look at this clear space right here. Now this is that big area of high pressure that's expanding from the west. Here is our upper level low across the northeast and the Great Lakes. That's going to be producing those showers and thunderstorms over Michigan and all the way to the northeast and into New England tomorrow. And we're going to see dry weather across the plains. Another cool day before you guys. A cooler day. I wouldn't call it cool. I wouldn't say it's fall, but temperatures in the 70s and 80s, lower humidities here across the Midwest, the Central Plains. That's going to be nice for you guys. It's going to stay hotter than the hubs of hell along the Gulf Coast and in the state of Florida and across the state of Texas. And we will continue with those mountain and desert thunderstorms across the Southwest. There is an area of low pressure off the coast of California that will enhance some of that monsoon moisture. And there is our hurricane there off the coast of Mexico making its way towards California. Here is your Saturday weather forecast. High pressure begins to expand across the center of the nation, expands a little bit into the Great Lakes, and pushes our low pressure center slowly closer toward the coastline. There it is, moving into New England and through parts of Quebec and southern Canada. So eventually that will make its way towards Newfoundland. But there it is as it slowly makes its way to the northeast, being shoved there by that big area of high pressure that expands all the way to the west coast. And we have our monsoon thunderstorms here over the four corners, and we have our heat dome beginning to build across the high plains and the upper Midwest. And we're going to start to see those temperatures in the 90s as we move into the weekend. And we're going to look at the temperatures across the country in just a moment. Now here is our Sunday forecast again. That big ridge of high pressure, but notice how it's flattening out as it expands toward the east. So we're not seeing it being as much as high amplitude, but we are seeing that warm air work in, and we're going to be seeing mostly dry days. Kind of a dry week coming up for us next week here across the north. We're not going to see many thunderstorms in the upcoming week, nor this weekend. So that's kind of a bummer because we certainly need the rainfall. We've only had one or two significant thunderstorms this year. Again, there's that heat down there across the Gulf Coast, moisture. An isolated thunderstorm is possible down along the Gulf Coast. And we do have that heat across the state of Texas. There is our hurricane getting ever so closer to the southwest. And then there's another area of low pressure. This is not tropical, but an area of low pressure, nonetheless, that's providing some rainfall across California and parts of Nevada and the Pacific Northwest. All right, here is your Monday weather forecast. Again, look at that. We have our long wave patterns starting to shape up. Starting to look like a zonal pattern as we move into next week, but that's going to still open the door for a lot of that heat to move across the northern plains and the upper Midwest. Our storm here across the northeast is finally moving out to sea, so we're going to say bye-bye to that guy, and there is our heat down across the southern plains. We're going to see our hurricane starting to make its way towards Southern California, our tropical system. I guess it won't be a hurricane. Well, it still could be a Category 1 hurricane, even off the coast of Baja California. It might lose its tropical hurricane or its tropical storm status. It could possibly be a minimal tropical storm as it passes near San Diego. But I think by the time it reaches LA and Orange County, it will be a tropical depression if that holds up, okay? So here is our temperature weather forecast for your day tomorrow. Look at the heat across Texas. It's going to be hot in Texas. Those triple-digit temperatures down here in Arizona as well and eastern California. But we're looking at it starting to warm up across the Central Plains. So in the high plains, we're starting to see those temperatures hit the 90s, 100s. But we're seeing those temperatures here across the 80s, across the upper Midwest, in the northern plains. But as we move into the next day, this is going to be your Saturday. Look at it. It's starting to get those 90s up there in Minneapolis. And we're going to see those 100s all the way up into Nebraska, South Dakota. We're going to see those 100-degree temperatures. And then on Sunday, again, those 100-degree temperatures across the Central Plains, upper 90s across the upper Midwest, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, Indiana, Illinois. Going to start to see those 90s creep in. And the humidity will slowly creep up as well. So an interesting weather forecast today. It was nice to be able to talk about something other than just the same thing every day. So it's kind of neat to have that hurricane to deal with and worry about. I'm going to enjoy tracking that. I hope to see something interesting happen, but we don't want a lot of damage. And we certainly don't want any death. So that's what we're going to pray for. We're going to pray for the best. And we're going to prepare for the worst, but hope for the best. So anyway, that is your weather forecast. My name is Mr. G, your neighborhood meteorologist from Mississippi State University. Thank you for joining me today with your weather forecast. I will be back tomorrow. I'm 50-50 on whether or not I'm going to make it to the office tomorrow because Mr. G is kind of sick. And I've been holding it together. A shout out to me for not coughing much through this video, but I'm going to hack it up when I'm done. So, bye-bye, guys. See you tomorrow.